Hey guys, Dantics here, bringing you another The Outer Worlds video. So it's October 2019 and I'm not broke. This Broketober is not off to a good start. You may or may not have realized, but The Outer Worlds is actually coming out really soon on the 25th. Yes, that soon. This video will go through all you need to know about starting a character in The Outer Worlds, as your choice is extremely important. Think Fallout New Vegas. You have attributes, skills, and perks, and you really need to understand and combine them perfectly to roleplay. So let me know below what kind of role you want to play. So the game's out soon, why then have you heard relatively nothing about it? Beats me, but from talking to the developers directly, they seem to prefer to let the game stand on its own legs and rely not on a bloated marketing budget smoke and mirrors. Right now, you can start preloading the game. It's just under 37 gigabytes on the Xbox. You can't pre-download it anywhere else right now, but keep your eyes peeled for PS4 and PC. I humbly ask that if you decide to buy the title on the Epic Store to use my creator code Dantics Official, as it'll help the channel out. If not, that's fine too. The Switch version will be released sometime after October the 25th. So I was recently sent to play The Outer Worlds and I put up an in-depth, nearly hour-long look at the game. Check it out below if you want to know more. I'm actually fairly proud of that video. It's an awesome background watch. So after coming back from playing the title, I can safely say that I'm excited. If the whole game is like the 2.5 hours I played, it's going to be fantastic. At the start of the game, when you build your character, you're going to see a magnitude of ways to play and probably be already thinking about other run-throughs. The game is about choice and you have an absolute ton of it. So the website nukesdragons.com has released a nifty little character builder planner for The Outer Worlds, which I'll be using to run through all you need to know about your character. When you start the game, you'll be given points to invest into strength, dexterity, intelligence, perception, charm, and temperament. From that point on, it's not clear if you can raise these attributes naturally, but no doubt it'll be difficult. Probably only going up with particular gear pieces or temporary boosts like taking in drugs. So your initial choice is extremely important. For example, if you choose to have very low intelligence, you'll be missing out on some conversational options that require a level of intelligence. That means you may miss out on an easy way through an objective, easy rewards, and so on. However, it will also unlock the ability to give low intelligence responses. Those familiar with the original Fallouts will know how this works. Might be you simply grunting at a person instead of talking, or being naive, or worse. It most certainly is hilarious, but it's unclear right now if this has any particular advantages. Each attribute will be either below average, average, good, high, or very high. When putting points into attributes, there'll be a threshold that the attribute ticks over to the next level. For example, you may go from 19 in strength to 20, and that ticks you over from average to good. These levels affect your skills, which I'll run through soon. Below average levels in an attribute will lower your effectiveness with the skills associated with that attribute, where average does nothing to change them, good raises them by 1 stage, high by 2, and very high by 3. Attributes won't just help you out with your skills. Like mentioned before, having a high amount of an attribute may help you out in situations. For example, during a conversation, you may have an option appear saying, for example, 20 perception to call a bluff. If you have 20, you can pick that option. These will help outside of conversational situations as well. For example, a high strength may get you into areas you couldn't get to before. Then finally, attributes also affect things passively, like strength adding to the amount of weight you can carry. So strength increases melee weapon damage and the amount you can passively carry. Skill-wise, it raises one-handed and two-handed melee weapons, heavy weapons, block, intimidate, and inspiration. This means with a high strength build, you'll be particularly good at using melee weapons, big heavy weapons like rocket launchers, be great at blocking damage, in conversation, be good at intimidating people to get your way, and be great at leading by example with inspiration. There are magnitudes of builds you can leverage for high strength. You may be a leader and a brawler, using companions to dish out the range pain while you go in with your heavy weapons. You might be a meat type character, intimidating everyone to get your way and destroying them when they don't fold. You get the idea. Dexterity affects melee attack speed and range weapon reload speed. Skill-wise, it raises one-handed melee, handguns, dodge, block, sneak, and lockpick skills. It's pretty obvious what high dexterity builds can help you achieve. The most obvious is a ninja-like character. You don't need strength at all to be good at one-handed melee, and with a high dex build you can use those quick melee weapons, sneak, dodge, and infiltrate with lockpick. Intelligence affects critical hit bonus damage. Skill-wise, it raises long guns, persuade, hack, medical science, and determination. With a high intelligence build, you can be the non-combat expert, hacking your way into restricted areas and turning their bots and security against them. You can also modify weapons in crazy ways and use science weapons like the Shrink Ray. You could also become very proficient at using long guns like assault rifles and sniper rifles and leading your team to become more powerful and effective. Perception affects headshots and weak spot damage bonuses. Skill-wise, it raises handguns, long guns, heavy weapons, dodging, lockpicking, and engineering. Perception is to range weapons as strength is to melee. You get to boost them all, as well as become better at dodging. Engineering will help you repair and break down those weapons. Meanwhile, you can also break into locked doors and containers. Charm affects faction, reputation, and companion ability cooldowns. Skill-wise, it raises persuade, lie, intimidate, hack, science, and inspiration. So if you want to be that conversational genius talking your way through situations, hacking through the rest like James Bond, charm will definitely help you there. You'll also have stronger allies with inspiration and be able to modify weapons and use science gadgets, just like James Bond as well. Finally is Temperament, which affects your health regeneration. Skill-wise, it raises two-handed melee, lie, sneak, medical, engineering, and determination. So Temperament is an interesting attribute as it contains a grab bag of skills that could work in multiple situations. If you were to combine Temperament with Strength, for example, you could have a fairly powerful two-handed melee build. Other combinations would be Intelligence and Perception for a long gun focused character, Dexterity and Temperament for a sneaky character, and many more combinations. Ideally, you need to spread your attributes to at least 2 if you're going for a high investment, so look out how they'll work together to determine your build and how you want to play. Worst case, wrong distribution isn't the end all, as you get more than enough skill points every level to more than outweigh the bonuses you get from attributes, so you might even consider a balanced attribute distribution at the start. Next thing to cover is your skills. These more directly govern what you're good at. For example, one-handed melee skill influences how good you are at using one-handed melee weapons. In the skills you have 7 buckets: melee, range, defense, dialogue, stealth, tech, and leadership. These govern their own playstyles and have skills within that to help that particular playstyle. The awesome thing about the Outer Worlds is that if you don't know what range weapon you like, you can put a skill point into the range bucket, which gives you a point in handguns, long guns, and heavy weapons at the same time, letting you try out all types of long range weapons. And then, after a skill reaches rank 50, you'll need to start putting points into it individually. This means you don't have to be as committal to your build at the start, which is very welcome. As, for example, you may find you like handguns more than long guns after testing them out. So to reiterate, if I know I want to be either good at blocking or dodging, I'd put points into defense. Then when dodge or block reaches 50, I won't be able to raise them both with a single point anymore. I'd need to put a single point into them individually. So by then I'd know if I prefer dodging or blocking. Skills also have bonuses that are unlocked when you get them to a particular rank. In many cases, adding something that changes how they function. For example, Persuasion, which is normally great in non-combat situations, unlocks a way to get enemies to cower in fear from you, which is useful in combat. So when you start the game, you'll be setting 2 buckets as a primary skill set. All this means is those skills will get a permanent plus 10 boost to effectiveness. So no matter your attribute allocation, you'll be able to boost some skills you want. Say you have a low charm build, but put dialogue as a primary, you would safely be able to build as a powerful liar without any charm. Each time you go up in level, you'll gain 10 skill points to distribute with a max level of 30 and therefore a max of 290 skill points to be gained from leveling. This sounds like a lot, but you'll soon see why it isn't, as you can get each skill up to level 100 for a usually big bonus. So let's take a look at each individual skill, starting with one-handed melee. This skill determines your proficiency with the speedier one-handed melee weapons. With a 20-point investment, you can do a power and sweep attack, which is pretty self-explanatory. With a 40-point investment, you unlock tactical time dilation location hit effects. This is the game's VATS. It slows down time and lets you line up shots. With this bonus though, you can now do location-based bonus effects, like crippling a target if you hit their legs. With a 60-point investment, you unlock an increased reach of 30%, and as melee weapons naturally hit multiple targets along their swing path, this means you'll be hitting more enemies as well more often. 80 points lets you use your one-handed melee weapons more often while in tactical time dilation, as it'll drain the meter slower. Finally, for 100 points, your power and sweep attacks now have a chance to stun the target. Two-handed melee skill governs the effectiveness with the slower, hard-hitting melee weapons. Frankly, I had a lot of fun with these weapons. The 20, 40, and 80 rewards are the same as the one-handed melee weapons, however at 60 points, your two-handed melee weapons become unblockable, which is huge since a slow swing being blocked is more devastating than a faster one-handed weapon. At 100 points, your power and sweep attacks have a chance to knock down an opponent, which is functionally similar to a stun, but without more information I can't tell you which is better for which situation. Moving over to the range skill bucket, we have handguns. I know it says handguns and long guns, but think of these as one or two-handed guns. Anything that's a one-handed range weapon is a handgun, anything that's a two-handed range weapon is a long gun. Anything large and heavy like rocket launchers is heavy, with exceptions being science weapons. So with 20 points in any of the three ranged weapons, you unlock tactical time dilation location hit effects. 40 points in any of the three increases the critical hit damage by 50%, 60 points in handguns increases the minimum amount of armor penetration damage by 10%, meaning handguns will be particularly good against armored targets. 60 in long guns increases headshot and weak spot damage by 20%, making long weapons good at accurate targeted strikes. 60 points in heavy weapons increases their reload speed by 30%, which would make them good for more than just a fire here and there situation. Heavy weapons are typically large and slow, so decreasing reload time makes them more viable as a primary weapon. 80 points in handguns puts a debuff on the enemy and reduces their critical chance by 20%. I'm not sure exactly how this works, if you need to shoot them for this to apply or if it just always happens when you have this unlocked. Either way, it's a defensive skill and it makes handguns stand out for different builds. 80 in long guns makes it so your weapon doesn't sway for 5 seconds after a kill, which combos well with the 60 point bonus for targeted strikes. 80 points in heavy weapons increases the rate of fire for 3 seconds after scoring a critical hit, once again offsetting the big, slow, long reload time of the heavy weapons. Then we have the 100 point bonus, which is the same for all three, 100% armor ignoring critical hits. This is massive as almost every enemy type I ran into in the other worlds had an armor ranking of some kind, so this will almost always boost your damage. Next we have the defense bucket, which houses dodge and block. Dodge is his ability to quite simply move out of the way of attacks. It influences how far you can dodge and also reduces the duration of harmful status effects. And block is the ability to block attacks from your opponent using your weapon or items, for example, blocking a hammer coming your way with your hammer by right-clicking. It also increases your armor amount when holding a melee weapon. With 20 points in dodge, you unlock the ability to dodge forward, as before you could only dodge back and to the sides. This makes it easier to close the distance to your target if you're melee. 40 makes you able to dodge twice as much as your recovery rate is much faster. 60 makes you take less damage for 5 seconds after a dodge, so if you're constantly dodging, you'll always have this buff. 80 makes it so you deal more melee damage after dodging by 50%, which is huge. This is why a ninja build will be taking dodge. 100 makes it so after you dodge, your weak spot hits have a 50% chance to ignore armor for 5 seconds. So if you're a one-handed specialist ninja, you dodge in, activate tactical time dilation, swing like a madman for 5 seconds and absolutely destroy your target. 20 points in block makes it so that if you block just before being hit, you stagger your target, opening them up for more powerful attacks. 40 reduces the amount of durability loss that your weapon sustains from blocking. Yes, weapons do have durability and that's why engineering is handy. 60 increases your walk speed while blocking, as when you normally do, you're slowed to a crawl. Now you can block and move around fairly easily. 80 makes it so you lose no durability when you perfect block, so get good at your timings. 100 makes it so perfect blocks also weaken your opponent, increasing the damage they take by 100%. Now imagine having a slow, hard-hitting two-handed hammer, you wait for your opponent to strike, perfect block, then follow up with some crazy high, unblockable damage when they're staggered from the block skill, or they take a hit from your unblockable two-handed weapon skill. The next bucket is dialogue. Persuasion adds persuasion options while in conversations. Lie adds lie options, and intimidate adds intimidation options, and although all three can have different effects, they are mostly the same in their function in that they help you with speech related choices. However, when it comes to the bonuses they grant for extra points, they're quite different. They actually help you outside of conversations, making you more effective in combat. Persuade gives you the ability to make human opponents cower in fear from your almighty majesty. Lie lets you scramble automechanical targets with what I assume is paradoxes and tricks, making them attack other enemies. Intimidate lets you terrify creatures, which makes them flee after you kill one. So each has a particular group of enemies that they excel with. Choices. I won't go through every bonus, but each boosts that ability's effectiveness. Cower makes the target easier to kill and gives you armor. Scramble makes them hit their allies more often and makes them easier to kill. Terrify increases the area of effect and increases your damage output. Stealth houses Sneak, which will let you move past targets without them noticing your presence, and the higher amount, the more sneakier you will be. Hack lets you bypass security on electronics like computers and automechanicals for various effects like unlocking doors or turning security against your enemies. Lockpicking lets you, pick locks, get into places you shouldn't be or loot things you shouldn't loot. 20 points into Sneak lets you get bonus damage for attacking unaware enemies. 40 lets you pickpocket humans while you're sneaking. Be careful, if they notice, they won't be happy. See my gameplay for an example of that. 60 increases your sneak speed. 80 further adds damage when you're sneaking and hitting a weak spot. 100 makes it so you ignore 50% of the target's armor when sneaking, perfect for those ninja builds. 20 points in Hack lets you sell back goods to vending machines, which is useful when you're far away from a vendor and running out of space. 40 lets you access special restricted items in vending machines like hacking tools and expensive weapons. 60 lets you hack auto-mechanical enemies, which turns them off for 10 seconds. But what turns them on? 80 makes it so auto-mechanical enemies have a lower range to detect you from. 100 lets you hack from an even longer distance. 20 points in Lockpick lets you pick lower level doors and containers for free. 40 points makes it so you find more bits, the game's currency, in containers, so getting this early will probably have a bigger payoff rather than later. 60 lets you see what's in locked containers before picking it, which might be useful if you don't have the skill yet to open the container, but it seems kinda pointless if you're investing heavily into the skill. 80 points increases your pick speed to almost instant. Yet again, not exactly sure how that's useful unless you're under fire, in which case opening the door can probably wait. 100 points gives you a 100% chance to find pristine items, which are the game's highest quality and therefore most durable items. Pristine items are also the most expensive, therefore selling for higher. It could be useful to get early on. Next is the Tech Bucket, which houses Medical. Medical increases the amount you and your companions can heal, as well as outside benefits in conversation and the like. Science influences how well you can modify and tinker with weapons and armor and what rank science weapons you can equip. Science weapons are weapons with wacky effects like shrink rays. Science also increases plasma and shock damage. Engineering influences how well you can repair items and break them down for resources. 20 points in Medical adds a second drug mixing slot for the inhaler, which is your healing tool traditionally, but you can modify it to distribute drugs into your system for various boosts. 40 points adds a third slot, making a drugged up Bane type character possible. 60 points makes it so debuffs and hostile effects on enemies like burning effects last longer. 80 points adds a fourth drug mixing slot, and 100 points gives you a flat 20% damage boost to humans, as I assume now you know all about the human anatomy. 20 points in Science unlocks the ability to improve your weapons and armor in the workbench. 40 points reduces the cost of tinkering. 60 increases the corrosion damage you now do, as well as the N-ray damage. 80 makes it so tinkering only costs 10% of what it did at the start, and 100 points makes it so science weapons are weightless, letting you carry them for any situation, as well as increasing their magazine size by double. You'll truly be a wacky scientist. 20 points in engineering lets you repair weapons and armor on the field at any time. 40 points makes it so you have a 20% chance to extract a basic mod when you break down an item. 60 points gives you a 20% chance to turn an item you repair into pristine quality, increasing value and durability, so you'll probably want to take durability damage now. 80 points makes it so you have a 10% chance to extract a rare mod when you break down items. 100 points gives you a flat 20% increase of damage to auto-mechanical targets, since you now know how they tick. The last bucket is leadership, and it governs a relatively new playstyle in these kinds of games. The ability to let your minions do your dirty work, almost like a pet class, if pet classes were good. You see, companions can, when invested into, make a bigger impact than you can. If you pick one that has a high lockpicking skill, for example, you get a bonus to yours. So you can, with high leadership, be an effective generalist of sorts, able to do anything situationally. Inspiration directly influences the damage your companions deal, whereas Determination increases your companion's health. With Leadership and Science, you could effectively slot into the debuffer role while your companions move into the primary damage dealing role. 20 points in Inspiration lets you order your companions to do a special attack. These attacks from my testing were extremely potent. 40 points increases their armor rating by 20%. 60 increases the bonuses your companions give your skills by double. So if they're good at lockpicking, you're gonna get double that. It's absolutely massive. 80 gives your whole party increased critical hit chance when a companion kills an enemy, so now you want them to kill still. 100 makes it so when a companion kills, they also lower all companion ability cooldowns. You'll definitely want them to kill still, secure now. 20 points in Determination makes it so when you use heal, your companions get a portion of it too. 40 points increases your companion's critical hit chance. 60 points further increases your companion's heal amount. 80 points makes it so if a companion is downed, the party gains extra armor and damage for 10 seconds, which you'll need. 100 points makes it so when your companion kills an enemy, they gain 50% of max health. Yep, you most definitely want them kill securing. So those were the skills and their bonuses. I spent a bit of time explaining them as they are what I feel is most important to your character's identity. You're quite limited in how much you can invest into your skills. You probably max out about 3 or 4 from skill points alone if you take advantage of the bucket bonus, and that's not that many. You'll need to make some tough choices. So next up are perks. Oh yes, you can further customize still. Perks provide a large random passive bonus to your character. You get to choose one every 2 levels, so we'll have 15 perk points to spend at level 30. Considering the choices I'll run through soon, 15 isn't all that much. However, you can do something pretty cool to get more. You can accept flaws. A flaw is offered to you when a certain criteria is met, like being burnt too many times can give you a fear of it. So if you accept that fear, you'll take more damage from corrosion, but you'll be given a perk to compensate. The lower the difficulty, the less flaws you can accept. You can accept 3 on normal, 4 on hard, and 5 on supernova, the hardest difficulty. You also have no choice in accepting flaws on supernova, so there's that risk reward system of having 5 extra perks. Back to the types of perks though, and these might change, but we have different tiers. All perks from tier 1 can be purchased at any time. You need to have purchased 5 tier 1 perks to unlock tier 2 perks, and have to have chosen 10 perks from previous tiers to unlock tier 3 perks. Let's have a look. 50% more health, an all around great perk and you wouldn't complain having it. Extra time dilation, extra damage when solo, faster walk speed, which I 100% would pick up early on, extra sprint speed, durability loss reduction, companion crit chance, base armor increase, extra stock on vendors, carry capacity, and if you know these kinds of games, you know that's important, time dilation recharge rate, fast traveling while encumbered, which I wish I had when I played it, more XP from companion kills, and vendor surcharge rate lowering. Those are seemingly big bonuses for a first tier, so let's have a look at tier 2. Reduction to accuracy penalties when moving, time dilation increase when killing, science weapon damage increase, more time dilation buffs, collecting items buff, vendors pay more, dialogue skill increases when alone, companions give you a bigger carrying bonus, consumables way less, some lifesteal, killing enemies lets you use companion abilities more, using them can reset other companions' abilities, and critically hitting can reset companion cooldowns. And then we have tier 3. More science weapon damage, makes headshot kills explode, makes you extremely accurate after kills, kills make you crit the next shot, healing revives your downed companions, ranged attacks reduce armor of enemies, increase bonuses from your armor, deal increased damage the lower your health is, more carry capacity, reduced AoE and plasma damage done to you, melee lifesteal, move fast in time dilation, being affected by harmful status effects increases your damage done, and finally, you can sneak better when alone. As you can see, perks can really influence a build. For example, you can clearly see a path for a solo, lone wolf type build, or one very focused on companion abilities. Maybe you want to get in quick, increase your move speed, you'll be better at melee. So, wow, I know I've overloaded you with information, so let's recap. You have attributes that influence passive bonuses and raises your skills. Skills directly impact your playstyles, and perks further modify your character. You distribute your attribute points at the start of the game, and every level after that you'll gain 10 skill points to distribute. Every second level you gain a single perk point. So do you have any ideas of what kind of character you're going to run in the Outer Worlds? Leave me a comment below and let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and be sure to follow me on Twitter for updates, as it helps me out a lot. I'll be back soon with more Outer Worlds.